I don't wanna lose you now, even though you moved on. How can I get you back somehow? Will I think about you?
Hey students, welcome to episode 32 of the Film Student Podcast. I'm your host, Tony Lazzeroni. This week, my guest is Carly Glenn from the Cyan Cohort, and originally the Red Cohort. Carly's journey took a bit of a detour, and we talk about that on the show. We also discuss her final project film, her theater background, and of course, her cat, Tom. He's not real. I swear. On with the show.
I was shipped out of the house from a young age because my parents didn't want to deal with me much. So that was my reason for moving to a different state. No, I'm kidding. My parents love me. They love me so much. But I did my undergrad at the Hart School of Music and got my BFA in musical theater. And it was suggested to me by one of my professors that I go to Chicago over the summer and instead of doing summer stock, maybe studying improv and writing. And I came out to Chicago when I was 19, and I fell in love with the city. And then I knew I was going to live here after school. So I moved here in 2015, did the conservatory, and then once they announced the Harold Ramis Film School, I was, I think, contracted into a show, a John Denver musical.
Interesting.
I know, right? You know me, Westchester Jewish girl with that country twang.
Yeah.
So I was doing that, and I saw, and I guess it was sponsored on my Facebook that the Harold Ramis School was announced, and so I was like, oh my God, I need to apply. This will be so great. And so, yeah, that's how I ended up in the school.
Nice.
Yeah.
And had you done much film stuff beforehand? Has it all been stage?
So it's mostly been stage and less production. It's been mostly acting and singing, definitely not dancing. No one wants to see that.
Which is in a soundbite is a snippet of what your term 3 project is.
Yeah,
a character that is effectively you
100%.
For all intents and purposes.
Yeah. Just a heightened version of me, which I don't know how I'm going to heighten this any further, but people should not come to set if they want to live. But basically, yeah, for my senior year of college, I had gotten back from Second City the summer previous, and I had taken I guess like a screenwriting type of intensive that was like 5 days long for like 6 hours a day. And I was like, oh, I could do this. And I had gotten word from my mother back home in New York that it was my dog, God bless her and rest in peace, Casey. It was her 13th birthday. So my mom and our now deceased party planner, Stacy Gerber, who was a father to me, loved him dearly. He was like, let's throw Casey a bark mitzvah. It'll be amazing. And of course, my family, we're super humble. But we throw big parties, and this was going to be a rager for sure. So I was like, no, this needs to be a film. And it needs to be a mockumentary. And so I wrote a script, and that summer before, I just mentioned that I took a screenwriter's class, but I also was in an improv class, and I got the pleasure of meeting and becoming great friends with a girl named Kendall Goldberg, who is an amazing director out in LA, graduated from Chapman. And I was like talking to her the first day of class about this thing I was writing, and she was like, send me the script. And I thought she was just kidding. Like, I was like, oh no, this girl doesn't want to read my stuff. And so the next day I ran into her and she was like, why didn't you send me your script? I was like, oh, you were serious. So I sent it to her and she's like, I'm going to direct this.
Yeah.
And so, you know, it was just a crazy process. And we worked with Tony-winning dog trainer Bill Berloni. There is a thing for that. So yeah, that was my first like introduction to film. And I think through that whole process, it was crazy because I had no idea what the hell I was doing, but the process was so fabulous and everyone I worked with was amazing and it was just so much fun and I was on such a high from it that I was like, this is definitely something that I would be interested in doing.
What did you end up doing with that project? Is it?
We submitted it to a bunch of festivals and we won a lot of festivals. It won the Chelsea Film Festival in New York.
Wow.
And it won a bunch of other like small festivals in California. It got into a bunch overseas, and by overseas I mean Canada.
Over the sea of the Lake of Michigan.
Sure. Which I often mistake as a sea anyways. I'm like, guys, let's go to the ocean.
It can feel that way.
It does.
So we're
huge.
actually recording this in your apartment, which is on the 50th floor of one of the downtown buildings in Chicago, and you have a killer view of most of the city and also a good one of the lake.
Yeah.
Just to the north side, which is really nice.
Yeah. You know, it reminds me of how small I am living up here, which can be scary at times.
But you have the sound of all the police sirens down below to comfort you.
Yeah, I do. And luckily I'm high up enough that I won't get caught. 'Cause they're always looking for me. But yeah, so I'm up high.
Yeah.
Love the view. It's a good view. It's loud.
Well, so what? So you had an interesting path through the program too, because you wound up taking time off in the middle of it. My case, I was originally supposed to be in the same group that you started with.
Oh my God!
But delayed starting. Like I basically accepted and then came back and said, actually, I can't make this work financially and you know, life wise.
I did not know that.
Yeah, so I was supposed to be in Orange originally.
Oh, cool.
So. But yeah, just delayed and came in this term.
Yeah.
So kind of have that in common to some degree.
Yeah. Except you weren't in a mental hospital, but you know, that's besides the point.
There is that.
Good times.
Yeah. Well, and that's something that you're really open about too. That you talk a lot about, not only just in person, but also in the stuff that you produce. That there's always medication or some bend of mental health, kind of put it in there.
Yeah, I think the reason why I'm so open about it now, and I really wasn't up until I started treatment back in, I believe it was February 2016, I think, where I was in an inpatient program at a really wonderful program in Houston, Texas. And I never thought that I would be a person to experience mental health because I was always doing a million things at a time. I was always the happy-go-lucky kid, and no one would ever know that anything was mentally unstable about me. But, you know, behind closed doors, I was not the same person that I presented myself to be at school or in high school, college. And then I finally just came to a point where I had a psychotic break, and I knew well enough that I needed to check myself in somewhere because this was not a normal feeling for me. And I think I think a lot of people who I'm open about it with expect someone with anxiety, depression, trauma come off noticeably in like an obvious way, and that's just not the case. Like, I never come off like I have any sort of issue unless I tell people, and I just learned to be super vocal about it. And I've had a lot of people reach out to me in the past couple of years about what they're struggling with, and they've opened up to me about it because they're like, wow, you know, I didn't know you were going to be I didn't know you had any sort of issues, and like now that I know that a girl like you who presents normally to the average eye, has these sort of problems, I feel like I can open up to you about it.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, and last week I had on Frank, and he was talking about how his diagnosis and how it didn't manifest in the form of depression or anything like that.
Yeah.
It manifested in the form of boredom.
Yeah.
Like he was
Okay.
always bored or boring
Yeah.
in person,
Sure.
you know, in interactions, and that kind of led to digging deeper to try and figure out what happened to him there, which is funny to me because I've only really worked with him much on sets, but he's always very animated, you know, with it and present, and so I can't imagine him being, you know, bored looking all the time.
Yeah.
But it does, you know, that would be something you would notice
Yeah, for
in an
sure.
interaction.
Yeah.
So, but that's something that you've worked into the stuff that you produced. I feel like every character that I've seen you put together is some sort of manifestation of you,
100%.
which is good because you're writing what you know, which
Yeah.
is what everybody says you should do.
Yeah.
Especially when you're starting out until you get good enough to be able to write from another perspective. But
Exactly.
like even that, what was it? I was just listening to a podcast with Dan Harmon, and he was talking about creating community.
Yeah.
And he was talking about how much it came from his experience because he went late in life to community college because he
Okay.
was trying to hold a relationship together, and the two of them decided they would take classes
Oh, yeah.
together.
That
at
show
community
seems
college.
so personal. I've only seen a few episodes of season 1, but I still was like, oh,
Yeah.
this is very specific and
Well,
amazing.
and not only that, like all of the individual main characters, he more or less described were kind of parts of him, like a mode that he would switch into, or a, you know, an interaction that he had, or somebody that he interacted with and acted a certain way all the time. Like, and the closest is probably the Jeff Winger character, which is like, you know, somebody that doesn't expect to be in this situation, but is back, you know,
Right.
in community college. But all the way up through, he was in there with a bunch of like, you know, 20 somethings, and here he is in his like late 30s, and so he felt like Pierce is kind of like the old man that was just always there, you know.
Yeah.
And so he found all these kind of sub parts of that to divide it up and create all these really vivid characters.
Yeah.
So I think starting from that point, you're set up to be able to get to that point.
Thank you.
You know, in the long run for it.
Yeah. I do appreciate that.
Yeah, no worries. But so your term 3, you want to pitch that?
Oh, man. Okay. Yeah.
This wasn't supposed to be
sure.
a pitch party, but
No, I mean, I don't know if this is going to be like a pitch, but more of what the synopsis is. So, yeah, we're set to film October 4th, 5th, and 6th, which is
When I'm out of
really
town.
great. Yeah, sorry,
sorry.
Tony. Guess you're going to survive to live, and I don't know,
gonna
survive
go-
another day.
I'm going to go make something in DC, so I will come back dead. But
Amazing. But yeah, so I think I've never put myself into anything that I've done. I've always written characters based off my life, or I've just casted someone who kind of has a similar sense of humor as me in a role. And I was like, you know what? I should probably like use this as a jumping off point for my career. And I do want to perform. And I think if I showcase myself in a fun short, then I'll have some luck. But yeah, so it's basically about me, and I show up to an audition that is a super heavy dance call, which I mentioned before. I am not. So I call my agent, and I'm like, what the hell, man? Like, you booked this weird dance audition for me.
Yeah.
And he's like, well, I bent my back, I bent over back for you. And there's some fun dialogue. And then I end up doing it, and because I'm a determined person and I'm willing to work hard, even though I'm not great at it. And I end up falling and hitting my head. And then I wake up in a nightmare at this big theater.
basically continuing the audition, but now it is in
But
dream
now
world.
it's in the form of many, many things from my life that shouldn't go together. Like, my mom and my therapist are cackling over a glass of wine, and there's like a bunch of, the Jeremy Abramowitz character. You read my script the other day in Dale's class, but basically in the opening monologue, I describe a weird date that I have, which is fiction, but it probably
It could have
could happen to me, honestly. But about how this fictional character, Jeremy Abramowitz, was sucking on my breasts and milk was coming out because of PTSD meds that I was taking, and I was lactating because of them. And in the dream sequence, there's a shot of Jeremy Abramowitz, who I think is going to be played by Chris.
Chris Adritzis?
Yeah. There's going to be a shot of him with like milk dripping out of his mouth and be like, hey. So he doesn't know he's Jeremy Abramowitz yet. He knows he's playing one of the boys.
Well, if he listens to the podcast, he's going to find out.
Yeah, hey, Chris. You booked it, man.
Considering the position that he put so many guys in his term 3 with Hinkle Knows Best.
I think he can handle a bit of skim milk. Or if he wants, I can, fill up a bottle personally. But
that's an unfortunate thought.
Very unfortunate. And yeah, it was good milk that went to waste, unfortunately. And I tried it with Tom, and he wouldn't do it, so it's fine.
Tom, the cat who's not actually real, like he's
animatronic.
He looks animatronic. He's was a Russian fold? Is that what he is?
Scottish fold.
Scottish fold.
And then there's Russian blue.
Yeah. I'm merging the two, but all gray cat that with just piercing eyes and folded ears. He's pretty adorable.
Pretty adorable indeed.
He's munching on food while we're talking.
Yeah, he's adorable, but he pooped in my bed yesterday and then threw up on the ground. So, And then Mommy was also having a bad day stomach-wise yesterday. So, it didn't really... If I ever come on this podcast again, expect bodily functions to always pop up, because in this podcast episode today, we have already talked about how I've lactated, and Tom pooped, and I pooped, and he threw up, and maybe I threw up.
This is just a sample of what we get on a daily basis with Carly.
Yeah, but this is like 10%. So
like we even learned the technical terms for it, that it's if you need to pee 10-1, it's you tell that you're taking a break. I'm taking a 10-1, a 10-2 if you need to poop, but. Yeah. I feel like we get it on a very explicit level.
Yeah, I mean, live tweeting from the toilet is...
Yes, we've gotten that. We've gotten that before. Mm-hmm. So what's your goal with this in the long run? What are you trying to do after this program's over? Because we're coming up on end of it in just a few months here. But
right. I mean, one time in high school, I won most versatile on my basketball team.
Okay.
And since then, after I looked up what versatile meant, since my vernacular is quite small,
thank you.
I was like, oh, thanks. I was like, everyone else was getting like MVP and most improved player, and then they're like versatile, and I was like 12, and I was like, thanks. But then I looked it up, and my dad explained it to me, and he was like, great job. So versatility has always been something that I strive for. Mm-hmm. So I don't know. I like to consider myself a jack of all trades. I like to dip my feet into anything I can. So honestly, going forward, I think my goals and my next steps now are to move back to New York, which my family is super excited about. And to get a part-time job in production, and then audition with my spare time for like film and television.
And you want to do production for film and television or for stage?
Well, I think I know enough people in the New York area where I could probably do production for stage, which is a whole different ball game. Right. But I've had experience with it before. With my old boss, Anita Waxman in New York. She's amazing. Hey, Anita. And so I think I would like to have a part-time gig in production for stage. And just because I want to feel like I'm doing a lot.
Right.
Like I want to be involved with stage, film, TV, singing. I mean...
I feel like stage production, there's more on each person's plate than there is in film production. Film production, because of unionization and everything like that, they're extremely modal. Like you're picking your expertise in that and you're doing that to the nth degree, but
Totally.
like that you're in that lane.
Yeah.
You don't change lanes. But
Right,
theater
but-
production, it's a lot more
You're doing everything all the time.
as the production progresses, even changing phases, you're changing what role you're playing in the organization for it.
Yeah.
So I could see the appeal of being able to do that, especially with jack of all trades mentality. Like,
Yeah.
I want to do 20 things.
Yes, and I have trouble sticking to one thing at a time anyways, so I feel like that environment for me is like an environment that I would definitely fit into. Yeah.
What have you gotten most out of this program so far?
Honestly, it's nothing, like I've learned so much technically, and I've definitely developed a voice in my writing, but I think it's like the friendships, not to sound cliche, but I've met a lot of really incredible people who I think I needed in my life at this particular time, because they've kept me motivated, and especially when I took that medical leave to deal with the mental health stuff. I was living in Evanston, and all of my Reds would check up on me and make sure I was doing okay and what's your plan. And Julie and Jack and Trevor and Lynn were also accommodating, and we're like, yeah, we'll just put you in a different cohort. You'll be fine.
Yeah.
And we'll figure it out, and you'll be good, and you're graduating from this program.
That was a great Julie impression.
Oh my God, thanks. I wasn't even trying. Whoa. Jack of all trades, am I right? Yeah, so I think it's the relationship and the family environment, the familial environment that I, get when I'm in the walls of the second floor.
And you kind of got the double up because of Red and Cyan.
Yeah, and
to
I
get a
feel
little bit
like
of
I
both.
have a lot of relationships that will definitely grow with me over the years. Same with teachers. I just feel mentored by a lot of people, whether they know it or not, and I feel really held by the program.
Yeah. So, what is the long-term dream out of what do you want to make? What's the magnum opus that you're trying to put together?
I really want to be best friends with Ina Garden.
Okay.
I don't know if you know her.
I do not.
She does Barefoot Contessa on the Food Network, and I'm obsessed with her.
That is your end goal in everything.
I just want to be best friends with Ina Garden. Yeah. Yeah.
I feel like there are paths to that.
Yeah, I mean, she makes some pretty delicious stuff. My mom has a lot of her cookbooks, and I've tried multiple recipes, although I'm sure they're better when Ina makes them over the years. And but in all seriousness, I think my long-term goal is to be successful enough to help other people. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
I always think about other people. I think when I'm doing things I want people to get experience and have fun. And if I am successful enough to get someone a job, that would make me feel accomplished. I don't need money. I don't need fame, just as long as I'm paving a way for, others. I think I'll feel good about it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So some position, you could be behind the scenes in the executive side of things and kind of making a studio work or maybe helping with development or something like that.
Totally.
Development's the thing I'm kind of leaning towards
Oh,
as
really?
a next thing.
You'd be great at that.
Because that's all it is. It's helping people kind of take the thing that they've got that's 75% there and just help them kind of fill up the difference, make up the difference to actually getting it to full production. And I love doing that. That's the thing, with the last couple of classes when they were going through producing or DPing or anything like that with them, it was always, let me help you take what's in your head that's not quite shootable in the current form, because you don't know what shots you want or you don't know,
and be the guy who
locations.
Fully realizes it.
Right.
Okay.
Let me help you. And it's not even that it's their project. At the end of the day, I'm like, you don't want to do what I'm saying. That's your call. I'm not fighting with you on that, but helping them at least get to a point where they have an opinion to want to do that stuff.
Right.
Because there are some cases where I'll come in and I'll be like, all right, so what kind of shots are you thinking? I don't know. I was thinking we could put the camera maybe over here. It's
Right.
like, okay, well, how's that going to edit together? I don't know. All right,
Yeah,
well, let's start to
see.
put this
Okay.
together and
Yeah.
see what all pieces you do need.
Right.
Because that's going to inform time on location, the number of actors you need, the way you're going to schedule out the day, like all those things kind of fall into place once you start picking that stuff out.
Sure.
Which then drives me nuts when we get into John Hancock's class and he's like, I don't like to pick out the shots till I get on set. I'm like, no.
And I'm like, yeah, that's my way of doing things. But like, you're the person that I need personally on set to fully realize what the hell I'm doing, because I can see it all in my head, but it's all in my head, and unless you have something to plug into my brain and put it on screen, I can't verbally express what I need and want. So
we can look at it and try and figure out, because that's the thing. I feel like I can help people with the pre-production too,
Right.
and just talk through. All right, what are you trying to show here? And like, it's sometimes just a really simple stick figure storyboard, or just like an overhead drawing of the space that you're in and where you want people in relationship to one another and where you're going to put the camera.
Sure.
Like, all that's something gives you some place to go
cancel your
from.
trip to DC.
I can't do that.
Great.
I have to go direct to film.
You're
I have-
directing a film in DC. Why
Yeah.
am I just hearing about this now?
Because it's a film festival that we do every year called 72 Fest. It's kind of like
Oh,
48 hour, but
yeah.
72 hours.
Oh, that's awesome.
And it's up in Frederick, Maryland. And
Amazing.
we've been doing 48 and 72. And this is the first year I missed 48 in like 8-9 years,
Oh my
something like that.
God.
But 72 Fest, we've done it for 7 years, and we've won at least one award every single year that we've done it. So
Yes.
we've got like a streak going. We're like,
That's
all right, we want to keep
amazing.
this alive.
Oh my
So
God.
so we're going back to. I'm going back to do that with not even the full crew, but a handful of people that want to work on it just for fun. There's my other half of my crew decided they were going to take a break from doing festivals this year and just focus on like producing things. So they're in the process of writing and shooting a short film just as a group.
Cool.
And so they've been sending me scripts and asking for feedback and stuff like that. So it's,
Look at you go, Tone.
I've got my little crew of DC people that
Amazing.
we'll see
Where
what
are
comes of
you
that.
going after school?
The jury's still out. I honestly don't know. Could stay here. Could end up in LA, could end up in New York, could end up back in DC. I haven't decided, because I'm still at that point now. I'm just at the point in the Lynn meetings with Lynn Pustai about kind of where we want to go next and that sort of thing. I'm just now getting to the point where it's like, so what kind of stuff do you want to do? Like, what's your next step? And so, I've talked to her a little bit about it, but not to the point of being like, so here's who I want to go talk to, or, how do I get in touch with this person, or anything along those lines. I just learned that the school has IMDb Pro today. So.
I just learned that too. And guess who's pissed? My mom, because I bought an account.
So you have it too?
Well, I have it too. And she was like, you need to go cancel this. And I was like, okay. And I went, and it's like, your membership will expire in June of 2019. So you're going to have to pay until then. And I was like, sorry. It's fine. It'll come out of my weekly allowance, I guess.
Well, that's like the stupid Premiere. I went and got a subscription for that, and then
And then they said, here, we can discount you.
No, not even that.
Yeah.
Because I edited in Final Cut, and I already owned
Right.
Final Cut.
Yeah.
And I got to the school, and I think who was I talking to? It was Dale.
Yeah.
We submitted our first project, and I did it in Final Cut just because I needed to do something fast, and I'm way faster in that than in Premiere, and I think it's just faster in general. But I submitted it. And I apologized to Dale. I'm sorry I didn't do this in Premiere. I just wanted to do it in Final Cut so I could get it done quicker. And he goes, "Do you like editing Final Cut?" I was like, "Yeah." He goes, "So edit in Final Cut." I was like, "I can do that." I thought that we had to use Premiere. He's like, "Eh."
So you have Premiere?
I have Premiere and Final Cut.
That's so
and
annoying.
I never used Premiere, and I'm stuck in it for a year long. Second time I bought into Premiere and not really used it.
Oh my gosh.
But I've used Photoshop, and I've
Yeah.
used because I'm helping out with the news now, so I'll use
Yeah,
Photoshop
yeah,
for putting
with
together some of
Maggie
those.
Smith.
But I could have gotten Photoshop for $10 a month as opposed to was it 20 something with the
Yeah.
student discount on the. So yeah, fun times.
Fun times.
We
at
all
the Harold
pay for
Ramis
crap that we
Film
don't actually
School.
want.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so if people want to follow along and kind of find your stuff as have you been posting the things that you're creating publicly?
I also have a website.
Oh, okay.
It's funnycarlyglenn.com.
Okay. Glenn with 2 N's?
Glenn with 2 N's, yep. You can also check me out on my Facebook. I don't have like a Facebook page, but I'm pretty active in posting. Instagram is mainly for Tom. Let's
Except
be honest.
you did post about this that we were recording this.
I definitely did. I did story this, but then I don't know if you were paying attention, but then I took a video of Tom.
Yeah, sure.
While you were setting up.
Why wouldn't you take a video
don't
of Tom?
know.
Tom is walking underneath me.
Yeah,
and
he's so happy.
He's too soft. He's
Hi,
not
baby
real.
bear. I love you so much. You're the cutest little boy. You're so cute.
I love him. Yeah, but if you want to follow Tom, he's at Tom the Fold on Instagram, and he's got about 5,000 followers. So
That's right, he should.
I don't know what it is. It's like my face is fine, but his is a lot better. Now he's rolling around. Wow, Tony, you've got something about that touch, man. He really wants you to pet his stomach.
He's a silly boy. I love him.
He knows I don't get to pet my cat's stomach because she would never allow it.
Yeah, he only wants that.
He probably smells her on the bag too.
Really?
But, oh yeah.
I don't know if he knows what other cats smell like, and I don't know.
Well, he's gonna go ahead and stick his head in my bag.
I
anyway.
guess let him search.
Is there another kitty in here?
Yeah.
All right. So what was your Instagram?
My Instagram is at CG on the go-go.
Nice.
Created in 2000
Nice.
by my mom.
Early on.
I was on the go-go at a very young age. That was 18 years ago, so I was 7.
Yeah.
Was I 7? Yeah, I'm 25, 18. Sure.
Yeah.
I just did mental math. Also was really
Congratulations.
good at math in high school and college. That will not further me in my career unless I'm producing
Yeah.
and
then you
working
can work
on
with
budget.
money. Yeah.
Yeah, but
That's when it comes in
Excel
handy.
does all of that shit for you anyways, so.
Yeah, but you also have to know how to manipulate Excel to do what you want.
You're right. And
Anyway.
then there's contingency and all that jazz, but whatever. What are you going to do?
Well, thank you for doing this. I very much appreciate it.
Tony, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, thank you.
No, thank you.
Thanks.
I took this love to make my mind up to.
That was Carly Glenn. Thank you to Carly and to the Harold Ramis Film School and the Second City staff for their help. The song on this week's episode was Up to You by Derek Evry off his album Pop Perspective. Check out more of his music at derekevry.com. That's DerekEvry. This show was recorded and edited by me, Tony Lazzeroni. If you want to hear more from me and my classmates, teachers, and a few special guests, make sure to subscribe to the podcast. If you have any questions or comments, send us an email at filmstudentpod@gmail.com or find us on Twitter and Instagram at filmstudentpod. And be sure to check out some of my and my classmates' work at filmstudentpod.com. See you all next week. Class dismissed.